Ladies and gentlemen, today is a special day because today is the day they have released the notes of what is to come for Starcraft 2 in the future, and I am going to be your guide through this patch note breakdown. Welcome back. Remember, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, let me know what you think down in the comments. Entaro Adun. Look at, see, they're trying to bait Protoss players already. Entaro Adun, Executor. Yeah, we're not killing Protoss right now, we swear. We are excited to push patch 5.0.11 to PTR, which features various amounts of balances, bug fixes, and quality of life improvements done by our community members. Zerg first. The Creep Tumor, one of the best things in the game. Arguably one of the best things in the game. Cooldown increased from 11 seconds to 13 seconds. A light slap on the wrist. You know what I'm saying? That's a light slap on the wrist. Nobody gives a shit. Every Zerg player forgets to spread their creep tumors on time anyways. It doesn't matter. Sight range reduced from 11 to 10. Another slight slap on the wrist. So this combined, both of these are small, but together, kind of a big nerf to the creep tumor. I like this. I like this a lot. This is nice. They've done a lot to nerf creep slowly over time. They've done a lot to nerf creep slowly over time, and it is nice to see them committed to keeping that power scaling going down. Hatchery, layers, and hive now spread creep less. Creep spread interval. So that means that the speed at which creep grows out from the hatchery is getting nerfed, right? Is this a nerf to the spread of the creep or a buff to the spread of the creep? No, decreased, right? Creep spread interval. So if it's the interval, no, this is a buff. This means it spreads faster, right? Yeah, I think that's a buff. Yes, okay. Slight range increase to the sight. Increased from 10, 11, and 12 to 12. So every single one of the 3 different tiers of the hatchery have 12 range now, making it harder to spine crawler rush Zerg, I guess? Harder to hide something on the edge of the base, maybe? I'm not... That seems like specifically just a nerf to that one cheese, the spine crawler rush cheese and ZVZ. I can't think of any other matchups. Maybe in TVZ... this helps with seeing the Reaper for like one or two extra seconds, right? Or they adapt as well. They'll be able to see like the outside edge of their creep instead of just the inside ring. Okay. Added a 0.7 cast finish time to abduct. You cannot move or use other abilities during this time. This is a big nerf to the Viper, and I love it. Because I think every other spellcaster in the game has the same cast finish time. I think every other spellcaster has like a similar cast finish time, and it seems like an oversight that they just didn't add that to the Viper. So this is like a bug fix almost, I would say, because every other spellcaster has this where like they'll cast their spell. There's like a short delay before they can like move or cast another spell. And Vipers were able to double cast their spells, like abduct, and they could pull like 2 units simultaneously if you can click fast enough or if you can use rapid fire for the spell. So this is a solid nerf to the Viper, which will be a big help in the late game for Protoss and Terran. Mech is a big deal. Viper pull is really big versus siege tanks and versus Thors. Only being able to pull 1 unit at a time now, essentially. That's a solid hefty nerf. The Ultralisk reduced size by 12.5%. Okay. Increases range slop from 1 to 1.4. The range slop is how far away the melee, like, so units that are melee units in StarCraft 2 have a short range that they can hit from, so that it makes it possible for melee units to hit kiting enemy units. So if an enemy unit is shooting and then moving away, and your melee unit gets like right into range as the opponent moves away, you get a hit on them, even if they like kite perfectly usually. And you could kite the Ultralisk so badly because its range was too short. It had to like get up to the enemy, do the whole animation where it like cleaves with the tusks, and then it would apply the damage. And if you moved away from it fast enough, it would like cancel the animation of the Ultralisk itself. Like you can actually do that to your own Ultralisks, cancel the animation of their attack, and they just won't do damage. So you can like over micro the unit. So this is nice because we never see Ultralisks. Essentially, they're a very niche unit. They don't have like too many uses, but a size reduction is actually a pretty big buff for them because they do get in the way of all your other units a lot. And this slight increase in range on their auto attack, that's pretty solid buff too, because that's one of the main problems with the unit, is it just doesn't get to be valuable. Hydralisks, muscular augments move speed bonus increased from 0.79 to 0.105. That's a sizable movement speed increase. Yeah, that's cool. All right. I can't be mad that Zerg is going to get some kind of buff to a mid-game unit, because this Viper nerf is huge in the late game. This is a huge late-game nerf to Zerg, so it makes sense that they would move some power to a unit in the mid-game. And the damage point has been reduced from 0.15 to 0.1. So this is a big buff. They did a damage point reduction on Stalkers, I believe, for years ago. They did damage point reduction on Stalkers, and they did it to Immortals as well, I think. They did it to a couple of units over time, and reducing the damage point of units is how long you have to wait after telling the unit to shoot something before you issue another order. So there's an animation on the startup of every unit's attack. This is basically reducing the amount of animation time that you have to wait for before a projectile or damage is applied, so you can like move and shoot more smoothly. And I'm all for changes like that because it rewards high level skills with like micro and control. So I'm all for that. That's nice. The Hydralisk is also a niche unit that should function better in a lot of scenarios that it doesn't function well in. The Broodlord is getting a pretty significant movement speed buff. Okay. I mean, I'm not mad about that. Ever since they made the change to the Broodlord, where they reduced its range on how far it could shoot the broodlings, it's been pretty bad. So a slight movement speed increase, that will probably help a lot. Do air units get the bonus movement speed from being on creep? I don't think that they get the bonus movement speed, but if they do, that's actually pretty significant. This is small, right? This is still making the Broodlord one of the slowest units in the game, which it still sucks. The Broodling is receiving a heavy nerf, a 2.1 second nerf to their duration. That's a heavy nerf, guys. If you think about this in the context of like the other unit that spawns free units, the Locust lasts for like 18 seconds, right? And this is 4? Dang. Broodlings are kind of trash unless you have 30 Broodlords. Broodlings are kind of trash. I'm surprised that they chose to nerf the Broodling instead of doing something else to the Broodlord, like nerfing the like front end damage, because it shoots and does damage when it shoots, and then it spawns the Broodlings. Would have expected a nerf to something else. And then the Ravager build time has been increased from 8.6 seconds to 12.9 seconds. I think all these values are in the old Blizzard time. I think these values are in old Blizzard time. So this is actually more like 7 seconds. And this is actually more like 10 to 11 seconds. I can't remember exactly the conversion ratio for like old Blizzard time. It's like 1.4 times faster. So this is a solid nerf though. This is like 3-second nerf to Ravager build time. It will make punishment of Zerg players like maybe, you know, you'll be able to kill a Zerg player because they took 3 extra seconds to morph a Ravager. But maybe it's more like if a low HP Roach is in the enemy player's army and they try to transform it, you can kill it, right? You can try and kill it. Because when they morph into an egg, they get a huge amount of armor. It is kind of hard to focus fire down the eggs because they were transforming so fast. And then it just, like, heals the Roach to full HP and makes it a Ravager. So this is a pretty big nerf, too. So I would say, overall, Zerg is getting a stinker here, okay? Zerg's getting a big old stinker. They're getting nerfed. These are pretty heavy nerfs. The Creep Tumor nerf is heavy nerf. This is kind of irrelevant. This is like a specifically versus what, like cannon rushing and spine crawler rushing and bunker rushing. This may make a difference, but this is a pretty irrelevant buff. The Viper nerf, this is like a S tier nerf, right? They could not have done too many other things to the Viper that would have been a bigger nerf than this. The Ultralisk buff, this is actually great because I think Ultralisks fit the fantasy of Zerg pretty well, but they were definitely too big. Having them condensed down into a smaller size, I think they're going to fit the fantasy of like a swarmy Zerg much better. The Hydralisk buff, this is a really big buff to the Hydralisk for sure. This is a small buff to the Broodlord, a big nerf to the Broodling, and a solid nerf to the Ravagers. So overall, tough time for Zergs. They're going to be feeling the pain. Let's move on to the next race. I'm going to go over the Terran changes before I go over the Protoss changes, because I want to know the Zerg and Terran changes before I look at the Protoss ones. So we're going to just skip over the Protoss ones, and we're going to look at Terran. So, gamers all around the flat universe. This is Beastie Cutie, Hupsaiya, Terran, Enhanced Shockwaves upgrade has been removed. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. Wait, what's the other part? Base EMP radius increased from 1.5 to 1.75. Why? Why did they do this? Why did they decide to just give EMP a free radius increase? Why did they do this? What did they? Was Terran dependent on this to win tournament games? EMP is what they like. Before they gave them enhanced shockwaves, Terran won no tournaments, right? They had no good placings in tournaments. No, Terran did absolutely fine before this. Why are they like half nerfing this? I don't know. I'm very biased. EMP is the best thing in the game against Protoss, period, right? There's nothing else in the game. I guess maybe the Disruptor is a better unit versus Protoss than the Ghost is, but EMP and the Ghost have much more utility than the Disruptor does. So, I don't know. I guess it's a small nerf, right? EMP is still the largest area effect spell in the game, I'm pretty sure, with this change. I'm reasonably certain that every other AoE spell in the game, Storm, Fungal, Parasitic Bomb, are all 1.5. So I don't know why they feel the need to keep the Ghost so insanely good, right? It is what it is. It's a small nerf. I gotta be happy about it. Steady targeting is canceled if the target moves more than 13.5 range away from the ghost while casting. Oh, amazing. This is amazing. This is a huge nerf to the ghost versus Zerg. This change makes absolutely no difference versus Protoss. So this is a huge Terran nerf versus Zerg in ultra late game, because watching 15 ghosts annihilate every Zerg unit in sight was great, but it's pretty whack. It's pretty whack. This adds counterplay, right? It's still gonna function the same, but there will definitely be counterplay to the ghost steady targeting, because there's absolutely no way to break the lock on previously. Very good nerf to Terran, specifically versus Zerg. And this is much more of a nerf versus Protoss. Kind of. Like, currently with enhanced shockwaves, Terran can land 2 EMPs and hit 99% of a Protoss player's maxed out army, right? 2 EMPs will hit 99% of your maxed out army if there's enhanced shockwaves. With this nerf, they're gonna hit like 85% of your army with two EMPs. So this feels like a nothing burger. Like they put a one piece of salad onto my fucking triple decker hamburger at In-N-Out to be like, hey, I swear you're not gonna have a heart attack at 45 years old. But I really think this makes EMP even better. I don't know why they needed to half and half on like nerfing that. I think a really good nerf would have just reduced the radius of EMP to 1 and then leave enhanced shockwaves in the game, and then when you get enhanced shockwaves it goes to 1.5. Like, make them unlock the power of their unit, right? Not just give them a free handout. I don't know. I'm too emotionally biased about EMP and ghosts, so I'm a terrible person to be commenting on this one specifically. Hyperflight rotors for Banshees, the upgrade time has been reduced by 21 seconds, which is significant. I don't know if we'll see more Banshees, but maybe. Banshees are good, and the cost is the #1 inhibitor to getting them. Hyperflight rotors cost has been reduced by 25 minerals and 25 gas. Solid buff, right? Nice. This is a very niche unit that, let's see some more of it. Banshees are fucking cool. They're really good, but they're way too expensive. So a slight reduction in cost and time on unlocking their full power, pretty cool. Cyclone Magfield accelerator damage bonus changed from +20 damage versus armored to +10 versus all. That's a burf, ladies and gentlemen. This is nerfing the Cyclone versus armored units, but buffing it versus literally everything else in the game. So, which was stronger? The Cyclone absolutely hard countering the shit out of every armored units, especially Oracles, or the Cyclone being mediocre versus basically everything in the game? This is a nothing burger as well, I'd say. Sensor tower range reduced from 30 to 27. Haha! I've always hated sensor towers. They are the most newbie thing in the entire game. I hate them. I hate sensor towers. Any nerf to this unit or building, whatever it is, I love it. Get rid of it. Just take this building out of the game. Stupid building. The Raven rework. The gas cost has been reduced from 200 to... Okay, so this one's kind of weird because I feel like the Raven is not a super core unit. I feel like the Raven has been very one-off. You make like one Raven per game, and that's all you ever make. So maybe they're trying to push towards making more of these, right? Build time reduced. Gas cost reduced. So This is like the same thing they did to the Void Ray, right? They reduced the cost and they reduced the build time of the Void Ray. Cool. Starting energy increased. PogChamp. They're just giving the Raven a free upgrade. They give the Raven and the Ghost a free upgrade, right? That's what they're doing here. The Raven and the Ghost are getting free upgrades. They're removing Corvid Reactor, which is the upgrade that gives Ravens bonus energy when they spawn. Interference matrix duration reduced from 11 to 8 seconds. Oh, you know what? I'm terrified. I'm terrified of this change. If Terran players realize that they can just make like 6 or 7 Ravens and then disable 90% of Protoss's army during a fight, we're screwed. We're screwed if Terran players figure this out. Every Protoss unit is mechanical or psionic. They can disable all of our units with interference matrix, and they start with an interference matrix, right? I think it's only 75 energy. I'm not sure how much interfere. I think they can cast 2 interference matrices with a full bar of energy. So if we see a move towards Terran players making like 5 or 6 Ravens every game versus Protoss, I think that's going to be awful for Protoss. So these are nerfs to the skills, but they're encouraging you to make more of them. Wow. This is strange. It'll be cool to see how this works out, because the Raven is cool. I do think the Raven is a super cool unit. Auto turrets are kind of lame. I think auto turrets are probably like the worst part of about the Raven, but I don't know what they would replace it with. It's basically like a really shitty version of the infested Terran. So yeah, this will probably make TVT a nightmare when people figure it out. It's probably gonna take at least a few weeks before people like figure it out and like, oh wow, the Raven costs a lot less money and starts with more energy and builds faster. Oh, we're gonna go over the Protoss changes, guys. So wait, before we move on, we said Zerg, they're getting nerfed. Zerg are gonna feel the pain from this patch. They got a couple of buffs to like one-off stuff. The Ultralisk, the Hydralisk are getting better. I'd say overall for Terran, this is pretty neutral. I don't think Terrans are gonna be feeling good or bad based on the changes they've received to their units. I feel like Terran players are probably going to be pretty neutral on these changes, because the Ghost is getting nerfed and needed to be nerfed, right? For sure. Nobody can argue that the Ghost should stay the same strength, right? Banshee getting buffed, whatever. Cyclone getting a change, whatever. It's no big deal. You know, it might make Protoss able to use Oracles a little better, right? Oracles are not going to die in like 2 seconds flat to a Cyclone anymore. That might be a nice change. The Sensor Tower nerf, who fucking cares? The Raven rework, that's a pretty big change, but we'll have to see how it really works, because it is a big nerf to the actual spells, right? The auto turret's going to cost more energy. The anti-armor missile is going to give less of a debuff, and the interference matrix is going to last less time. So it's pretty big nerfs along with a cost reduction. So we'll see what happens. Neutral feeling, right? I'm really glad that they tried to nerf the Ghost. They tried to nerf the Ghost, okay? Protoss. Please be good. Number 1 on the list, the Shield Battery. Battery overcharge recharge rate reduced from 200% to 150%. Green Battery is good. Maybe Green Battery is too good. Was Green Battery too good? I guess we'll never know, you know? I don't think that, Protoss players were winning or losing games because of battery overcharge, unless the enemy player was just making really bad decisions. Whatever. It's a big nerf. It's a big nerf, but I think that this nerf to the battery overcharge is going to affect the mirror matchup more than it will affect the other matchups. It might make 3 racks come back from Terran players because the battery and battery overcharge kind of made 3 racks builds pretty irrelevant. So maybe we'll see like a meta switch in PvT. The observer movement speed has been increased from 0.63 to 0.82.
Oh, yeah!
Model size increased. You know what they just did? They were like, you know, Starcraft players, we know you got bad eyes. We know. You've been staring at the computer screen too fucking long. You can't see those observers. They're too tough to see while invisible. They're tiny. Here you go. It's bigger. Here you go. Put on your easy reader glasses, Grandpa. Come on, Grandma. It's time to put on your fucking easy reader glasses. There you go. Now can you see? Now can you see the observer? Yeah, I can see it now. Thanks, bro. So that's a buff to the observer. Very nice. I would have loved to see them reduce the gas cost of the observer by 25. That would have been super nice. Just 25 gas cost reduction for the observer. Please. Holy crap. It is an unbelievably expensive unit for how it functions. It takes up a supply, and all it does is spot stuff for you. It's really good, but it takes up a supply point. Zerg can do similar stuff with things that don't take up supply points, right? Well, it's a movement speed increase. So even if people can have a easier time seeing it, it's going to be more difficult to catch it. Like, every time, I can think of so many times where it's like, the Terran player sees my observer, I start to run away before they even do anything about it, and it's just so easy for them to catch it. Like, the Raven moves way faster than the observer, I'm pretty sure. The Archon can now fit between single gap walls. Oh, guys, it just, I just, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm amazing. This is a change with no downsides. This is a change with no downsides. I would have loved it if they had done to the Archon what they did to the Ultralisk by reducing the actual size of it by 12.5% or however much they needed to make it fit through walls. Because it has the same problem as the Ultralisk in that it is so big that it gets in the way of your other units. But this is good. This is great. I'm happy. Everyone's happy about that. Everyone liked that. Your reputation with everyone has increased. Thank you. The High Templar has had its movement speed similarly buffed to exactly what the Observer's is. Okay. All right. So let's think about this, right? In conjunction with this small ghost nerf, we have a small High Templar buff. It's not that big. If somebody could quote me the Ghost's movement speed, I could tell you how impactful this is. Is the Ghost's movement speed closer to 4 or closer to 3? I think it's closer to 3. So this is kind of a big buff. I'm happy. I'm happy. The Ghost only has 2.69? Are you sure about that? That's pretty nice, though. Yeah, no, this is a very nice change to the High Templar. Are you sure the Ghost is 2.69? You're memeing me because 69, aren't you? 69, nice. Oh no. What have they done to my boy? What have they done to my boy? No! Oh no! Not my beautiful balls! Oh, they cut my balls, bro. No! Why did they do this? Oh, so no, I thought so. The Ghost's movement speed is 3.94. It is exceptionally fast. The Ghost is exceptionally fast at 3.94 movement speed. I think it's in like top 5 movement speed for units. Right? I can't think of too many things that go faster than the Ghost as a ground unit. It's a ground unit. The Disruptor has been nerfed. The radius has been clipped, ladies and gentlemen. They took the nail clippers to Protoss players' foreskins all around the world. Oh, man. How could they do this to us? They didn't even buff it in any way. Reduce the cooldown. Look at what they did to the Ghost, bro. They big nerf, but they do small buff, right? They do big nerf, but they do small buff. Where's the other one, right? Where's the other one? It's like big nerf but small buff. Oh, big buffs. Big buffs. Come on, bro. Show my boy the Disruptor some love. Make it move a little bit faster. Reduce the cooldown. Reduce the cost a little bit, maybe. Oh, the Raven's a perfect example. Rework, right? Reworked. Lowered cost, lowered build time, increased starting energy, nerfed spells. This is a nice rework to the Raven. This just makes the Disruptor worse. This just makes the Disruptor not as good at anything that it previously did. And I will admit, I dislike the Disruptor. But they should change it. They should change it into something else instead of just making it bad. You know? They're just changing it into something bad instead of changing it into something different. Because, yes, I think the current Disruptor, it's a bad unit, man. It is not a good unit. The way that it functions is way too gambly. It's like all or nothing. You get a really good shot, you win the game. You don't get a good shot, you die. That sucks. I think this sucks. This is gonna make the Disruptor much less obnoxious in the mirror matchup. That's one thing I can be very happy about. Disruptors in Protoss versus Protoss, gonna be way less obnoxious. It's gonna be way harder to annihilate an enemy player's army with like 3 or 4 Disruptors. But similarly, it's gonna be worse in PvT. It's gonna be worse in PvZ, okay? This is tough. This is tough, man. So, big nerf to the Disruptor. Small buff to the Templar. This is tough, man. This is gonna be a tough sell. This is gonna be hard to kill Terran players. Just straight up, it's gonna be really hard to kill Terran players. It's gonna be way harder to kill siege tanks. It's gonna be way harder to kill lurkers. It's gonna be harder to kill infestors and ghosts. This is tough. The Disruptor is what Protoss players were winning games with a lot. I would say that like basically like 90% of late game Protoss is relying on the Disruptor to get good shots for you. All right, man, we gotta accept it. It is what it is. They nerfed stuff about Zerg and Terran as well. Carrier changes. Interceptor shields reduced. Oh no! Interceptor attack priority reduced from 20 to 19. Flying radius around target increased. So the shield nerf, I'm cool with that, right? I'm cool with the shield nerf to the interceptors. They're kind of tanky. They're pretty tanky for their costs. 25 minerals for a 120 HP or for a 80 HP unit. 25 minerals for an 80 HP unit that can live and be healed is pretty solid. 10% shield reduction. Intercept attack target priority reduced from 20 to 19. I hate this so much. I hate this change so much. So let me explain what it does. If your units are in range of a carrier, but there's an interceptor shooting at them, they will shoot at the interceptor instead of the carrier unless you tell them to do it. And this is something that is like an interactive micro decision. Do you want to target the disruptors by attack moving the ground or hitting hold position? You kill the interceptors, right? If you do that, because they won't shoot at the carrier unless you tell them to. Or do you focus fire the carrier? This removes all decision making from the defender / aggressor player versus the carriers. You're going to A, move at carriers, and your units are going to attack the carriers. This is removing decision making and skill from the game, okay? Like, regardless of whether or not the carrier needed to be nerfed, I think this is a terrible way to do it. This is trash. This is an F tier change, okay? This is letting smooth brain people who are bad do better on through no action or activity of their own. You're gonna just see shitty players that used to die to carriers because they can't right click on the carrier kill carrier, you know? Like people who are just shitty and can't right click on the biggest unit in the game are going to be able to just A move into a fight versus Sky Toss. That is a terrible change. This is a terrible change. I really don't like this. Yes, the carrier needed to be changed. No, this is not a good change to the carrier. The interceptor flying radius, this is the only thing I can think of that this does is it spreads the interceptors out more, so splash damage is less efficient versus them. The Widowmine, Storm, EMP, Fungal Growth, Parasitic Bomb, all of those things are going to function less well against interceptors specifically. So that's a fat nerf to the carrier. I kind of fail to see what the vision for ultra late game Protoss is. Currently, I kind of like fail to see what the vision for ultra late game Protoss is. If they want Protoss to win, but they want Protoss to not use the carrier, they need to buff the Tempest. That is really what they need to do. Along with this carrier nerf, there should have been a serious look at the Tempest to try and buff that unit. In some way. Make it move faster. Make it shoot faster. Or give it more HP, right? Give it 50 more shields. It is such an incredibly fragile unit that is stupid. So this sucks. This is a big late game nerf for Protoss. This is a big late game nerf for Protoss. And this is a big early game / mid game nerf for Protoss. And now the Sentry is having its build time reduced by 4 seconds. Who fucking cares, man? Who fucking cares? I mean, maybe this will make the Sentry a more viable decision versus all-ins. And maybe this will make the Sentry a more viable decision as a first unit. Who knows? I'll try this out. Because of this Sentry change, I'll try for a Sentry first in every matchup. Because you get 4 extra seconds of building energy. You get 4 extra seconds to, like, hold off an attack. While also scouting with Hallucinate. And then, this is a revert. This is a partial reversion to the nerfs to the Forge that happened in, like, 2018 or 2019. They increased the build time by 14, 18, and 22 seconds for every level of upgrades for the Forge, because they thought that timing attacks by Protoss in the mid game were too powerful. And this is just a slight reversion, right? Like, they're taking half of the nerf away. And I don't think that we'll see any kind of difference with this at all. So overall, huge fucking nerfs. These are huge nerfs to Protoss. These are like the only truly reliable late game win game units that Protoss had. And that's tough. And I don't know what they expect, right? I don't know what they expect out of Protoss going forward. We're still going to have to make and use these units in the ultra late game. They're just going to be worse, right? We don't have a choice. We're going to have to continue making these units in the ultra late game if we want to play that stage of the game. But we're just going to be worse. And I don't think Protoss was favored in ultra late game. I think it was very stalemated. Ultra late game was like very stalemated in all three matchups, I think, that aren't mirrors. So I don't know. Coupled with nerfs to EMP and nerfs to the Broodlord, because this is like a pretty heavy nerf to late game Zerg, and the Viper nerf is a pretty heavy nerf to late game Zerg. I'm not sure. Who's the winner? Who's the loser? I'm finding it kind of difficult to think about that, actually. Who's the winner? Who's the loser in this balance patch, right? It seems like everyone's kind of a winner and everyone's kind of a loser. I think Protoss is definitely getting the short end of the stick, which, to be perfectly honest, I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all.